All right, what's up, everybody? This is Pastor Devin Stephenson, aka Ashe and Zuri, pastor of Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives, one mind at a time. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate the King and Queen in each and every one of you. Before we get started, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. We're growing in subscriptions. Thank you guys for continuing to help us grow. Also, to remember that there's two books out. I'll give information on how you can get those books towards the end of this conversation. But let me go ahead and start with this little vlog of ours. We're back on track, so we're getting closer to being closer to about 6 o'clock or so, and being a little more consistent again. I'm still not sure if we're going to stay with every morning, but right now that's kind of the vibe that we're in. I'm actually going to be over in Ghana pretty soon, so I'm going to try my best to still keep the um, six-ish live chat, but on I guess Tuesday will be the first day that we'll be there. Next week we'll be there for a little while, so we might be off in that. So forgive me if you don't get us exactly then, but I'll still try to make sure I'm putting out content. Of course, I'll be doing some recording, and we'll have some sermons, we'll have some lessons, we'll have a lot of different things going on. So hopefully you guys continue to stay with those things, continue to keep up with us in those things. And we look forward to having you join us, per se, I guess, for lack of a better word, join us while we're on our trip, and be able to see some things that you and your super chats and your donations and your even viewership has been allowed us to be able to grow and to do, besides just doing things in the U.S. that we've been doing. But I wanted to talk about something today that kind of hit me this morning, listening to some people regarding sports, and but it's something that translates outside of sports. I was watching a YouTube video. I'm going to go back and watch the rest of it, but just for time's sake, I had to kind of cut it off so I can come down and make sure I got something for you guys. Once again, we're still dealing with the flashing light. Might be dealing with it for a while, but oh well. But had the I had the opportunity to listen to somebody talking about Kobe and Shaq, and it kind of led me to this discussion about being a disciple and not a fan, or in other words, be a follower of somebody, but don't become a fanatic. And this is part of the problem, part of the issue that we have with life in general, with sports, with churches, with politics, with when people get married. We can take this to so many places. People are no longer we're not we're not followers of people or disciples of people, or we're not dedicated to people. We're rather fans of people. So we have blind loyalties, which is terrible, because when you have blind loyalties, it means people can do whatever they want, and you'll support them no matter what. You'll find reasons to support them no matter what, and you'll even go to the point of signing on for co-signing on foolishness, on BS, on nonsense, on dung, on crap. You'll co-sign on different things. And before I get into all the different things, let me just kind of take it from the sports vantage point. So the guy's talking about Kobe Bryant, and he began to say that everything that everybody's been saying about Kobe Bryant the last couple of years of his career on, and from that point on, I guess the last couple of years of retirement, everybody has been wrong on everything they've had to say about Kobe Bryant, because and basically when you listen to his points, it was because he's a fan. He pointed out everything that was wrong with everybody else, and how Kobe Bryant gets a bad rap. And I'm not a fanatic of anybody. I used to actually be a fanatic of LeBron James. I've cut that off. I used to be a fanatic of Michael Jordan's. I used to be a fanatic of the Dallas Cowboys. I used to be a fanatic of Ken Griffey Jr. Lots of different people I was fanatics of. So I've been able to cut that part out of my life. And so I'm able to look at things more objectively, because I don't hold blind allegiances. If somebody does great, I say, you did a good job. You made a good shot. You helped out the community. Great. If you do a poor job, I'm able to say you did a poor job. And I think that's how we should, operate when we do this thing. That's how we should look at these things. And we shouldn't differ from that. We should constantly and consistently be looking at things objectively. It allows us to be greater in the information we can take in, because we don't have to be stuck by saying, well, I'm just on this side only, so I can't see the other side. I can't see some of the great things. I can only see what I want to see, to be able to make my point. And that's how a lot of people live their lives, is they see enough to make their point, but they can't see anything else. So I wanted to talk about this subject matter in particular, because when I heard this person talking, he doesn't want to talk about anything negative. We don't hear him talking about Kobe Bryant saying he wanted to be traded. We don't hear him talking about Kobe Bryant, was telling on teammates and telling personal business stuff that later on it would come out. Or no, he was only saying things like, for example, when Shaquille O'Neal, who was married at one point to Shawnee or whatever her name is, he gets, get caught cheating, but the real reason he got caught cheating, which, by the way, you shouldn't be cheating. I'm not saying you should cheat, but the reason why Shaq really got caught cheating was because Kobe Bryant came out and said, well, Shaquille O'Neal's cheating too, when he got caught with his, pants down in Denver with that little white girl. So Shaquille O'Neal basically gets in trouble because of Kobe Bryant. We don't like to talk about the fact that Kobe Bryant could have won a playoff series and decided, because Phil Jackson said he was trying to shoot too much, he wasn't going to shoot in the second half of a game, and it ends up helping his team to lose the series. We don't want to talk about the fact that Kobe Bryant decided that, even though he was injury prone, this or that or whatever, he didn't want to help try and bring anybody to the team, because if anybody wanted to play, they should just want to play because it's Los Angeles and because it's him, and they should want to be subservient to him. And he didn't want to do, what many players do at the end of their career, which is, hey, I recognize somebody has the potential to be greater than me. Let me go ahead and do what a lot of players do, which is let me wrap my game around theirs. Even if you don't like Michael Jordan as a person, you don't like things that he's done, you'll see that he's done similar to that, to where he changed his game, where even though he could take over a game at any time, he could score 50 points, he could do this, he could do that. He understood, all right, let me have Bill Cartwright score in the first part of the first quarter every game, and I can back off some. Let me have Scottie Pippen do certain things during the game to keep things going. And then at the end of the game, I can do what I do, which is, just score a bunch of points and, try and help out on defense a lot. LeBron James, as much as people want to say everything has to be centered around him, he went to Miami and learned how to play with somebody who was playing a very similar position. And then eventually that other person, Dwayne Wade, even had to do something similar, which was, hey, I'll learn how to play under you because you're a better player than me. So Kobe Bryant has a lot of different things, and I just, he's a great player. Don't get it twisted. He's not an evil human being. He's got some issues as far as some things that are a little psycho. But you have to, I guess people say you have to be a good sports person. But I was trying to just, when I was listening to him, this person wouldn't address anything negative. Everything was everybody else's fault, and this is what happens when you're a fanatic. And a lot of us are not able to follow people. We become fanatics of theirs. And we can take this to many parts of life. Like, people will get married, and they're not really trying to, like, if you get married, you have a husband, your husband's supposed to be the pastor of the home, priest and prophet of his own home. He's supposed to be able to disciple you, to help you to become better. He's supposed to be the one that's praying more, giving more spiritual advice, teaching things in the home, having the children become his disciples at some point as well, et cetera, et cetera. And what happens is a lot of wives will become fans, they become fanatics, right? They cheer, rah, all this stuff. They can do nothing wrong. And when a woman finally realizes this person is human, now all of a sudden she's no longer a follower because she was a fanatic. She was a fan. Everything about this person, he was cute, he was fine, he was attractive, he's never told a lie, this, that. So he finally tells a lie. Now you got issues because you didn't think of this person as a person. You thought of them as some God figure or some type of hero. And we have this weird hero worship. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have heroes, but our first hero should be Yahweh, right? Our first person that we should put on a pedestal, the only person really we should put on a pedestal, is somebody who cannot lie, who cannot fail, who cannot give a wrong answer, who can do anything but fail. The only person that can do that is the Most High. Everybody else is going to let you down at some point. And if we're not willing to see that, then we can't actually be any good for people, because what will happen is you become an enabler. Like, a lot of you are not people who follow your children well, right? To see, okay, this is where you're headed. Okay, you're going to be a speaker. My child is energetic, this or that. No, you're a fan of the child. You're a fanatic. So anything your child does, you co-sign. And a lot of teachers would high five me probably when I say that, because they have to deal with our children when they go to school. And you have children who are cursing the teacher out. And rather than somebody sitting their child down and making it very clear, you will never do that to your teacher again, guess what we do? We go and we curse the teacher out for being mad that our child would curse them out. Right? How dare you talk to my child? How dare you say that my child needs to change? Well, your child needs to change. They shouldn't be cursing anybody out. Right? Or you see children who are doing stuff where, and this is bad on the parents, but the parents are sitting there, doing all this vile stuff, shaking their booty. We just had this lesbian couple get in trouble because they had these children in the house, and they were taking these children and letting them smoke weed and stuff. And although the penalty was way too high, was way too strong, you gotta understand, you shouldn't have been having your children smoking no weed, right? And so even though the penalty was too strong, that you still deserve some type of reprimand, and we still got to doubt, are you fit to be able to have these children raised under you? Because these children are going to be sitting up here getting into things. If you having them smoke weed, then these children were like 4, 3, 2, something like that. 3 of them, I think, were in the video smoking weed underneath these 2 parents who are laughing because their children are smoking weed. Like, this is not acceptable, right? But we become fans. Our children can do anything. You hear people say this to their children: you can do anything you want. No, you can't. What are you called to do? And this is a very American thing, by the way, where Americans like to say stuff like, you can do anything. You want to be the president of the United States, you be the president of the United States. No, what are you called to do? Because there's only one president. And matter of fact, in the history of what you call your United States, because really we know there are more than the 45 presidents that are here, but or that we know of, right? We know there were presidents before George Washington, because George Washington has named presidents that he thought were the best before he was. He claimed to have a favorite president, and we know the very first president of what you call the United States, which is really the Republic of the United States. We know that was John Hancock, right? So we know that there's more than that, but let's just go with these 45, right? So from George Washington, generations ago, right? From slave owner George Washington, first president, all the way to Donald Trump, there have only been 45 presidents. Okay, 45, which means that your children have an incredibly low percentage, right, to ever even sniff being the president of the United States. Now, some of them have a higher percentage of being senators, but if we were to take the amount of senators that there, I don't even know. I don't keep up with stuff, people who are in the Senate and people who are in the House. Even if you take all of them up and put them together, they're a very small fraction of people who exist in the United States. So we keep doing this fan thing. You want to be the president? Fine, we'll just go with it. No, what is it that you're called to do? This is one thing that was great about culture in the past, is that you had, why was Yeshua a carpenter, right? Why was Yeshua a carpenter, who we call Jesus now? Why was he a carpenter? He was a carpenter because his father on earth, we know the spiritual father, we know whose real daddy was, but his father on earth was a carpenter. And so tradition was that whatever daddy does, I'm going to do. Now, even though he took what daddy did as a carpenter, building things, and he was able to take it to a whole nother level where he rebuilt the foundation for the kingdom of heaven, and then left the Holy Spirit with us, right? He built the foundation and put the Holy Spirit on top of that foundation, so now you and I can be able to have greater understanding. But he went through a tradition of, I know who I am already. He grew up knowing who he was. John the Baptist grew up knowing what he was supposed to do. And the difference between us and different cultures is we don't grow up knowing what we're supposed to do. Look at other cultures. In other cultures, they know. Like, as much as you might think this is not fair, that's because you're on some European, American type stuff, Canadian type stuff, where you're like, you should just be able to do whatever you want. No, families grow up in other places in the world, and this is why there's such a takeover. This is why people come to America, or go to England, or go to France, and people who have nothing, all of a sudden, after 10, 20 years, they've built up these monster chains of whatever, whether they've taken over the nail market, or they're taking over the hair market, or they're taking over food markets, or you have different cultures who cook for black people now, and they cook their food not better than black people cook it, but they cook it acceptable enough and give it at a cheap enough price to where black people would rather buy it from them than even make it themselves, right? Um, the reason why this happens is because people grow up in their cultures knowing what they're going to do. So you'll have a family, and let's say you have, 7 intermediate families within that family, right? When I say intermediate family, I mean mother, father, children. So you have 7 family units within one big family, and people know what you're going to do. They say, hey, you're going to be the doctor in the family. And so you have a family unit that's working together, that comes together, starts doing Chinese restaurant, whatever. Let's deal with let's say they're all Chinese, right? They're dealing with Chinese restaurant, but they're saying you're going to be the you're going to be the Chinese. I'm sorry, you're going to be the doctor in the family. We got to have a doctor in the family. We already got the restaurant, so we need the doctor. We need the medical practice. You're going to be the person that works on the actual. On a real Chinese restaurant, because we might just have the place where we're selling chicken and we're selling fast food version of Chinese food, but you'll have the actual Chinese food. So you need culinary arts. Great. So we got culinary arts. We have this taken care of. We need somebody that's going to be doing hair in this area. People like to have their hair, get fake hair, or do whatever. We can be the best at that. You're going to own that place. And they do this with each family, and children are trained. We need somebody who's going to be a dentist. We need somebody who will be the scientist. We need somebody who will be the humanitarian. And you make an empire, right? You make a kingdom from within that family. And they even call them keys in different places of the world. You give a little bit of this money, you give a little bit of that money, you do this here, you do this here, you do this here. And before you know it, these people have grown to be within one generation, these people are on the precipice of now the next generation basically walking into a political standing, a financial standing, etc. That was never seen before, and that's really being kingdom minded, right? But in the midst of that and all that I'm saying, to come back to what we're talking about, they can't be fans. They have to be followers, right? The goal. In other words, their focus is the goal, right? Their focus is the goal, and so they keep their eye on the prize. There's the parents, or there's somebody who's put in charge of them, even if it's a school system, whatever. There's something they're going through that's going to help them to get to where they are. If anything takes them off track, or if anything becomes falsified, something that's not going to actually get them there, they get rid of it, because their focus is to hit what their vision is, to hit what they've seen, what they are supposed to do, what they've been trained to do, what they've been asked to do by their family. And we don't have that same mentality. So we're following anything. Or actually, I won't even say we're following. We're fans of anything. You have pastors who are doing some things. Are saying some things that are off. We've got people like Creflo Dollar telling you stuff that we know is straight up fabrication. He's telling you that if you don't, everybody in the Old Testament who never tithed, they died. However, you don't see one story of anybody in the Old Testament who did not tithe and then died. You see people who take things they're not supposed to and die, right? You see people touch the Ark of the Covenant and die. You see people who try to come up against God's people and die. You see people who are unfaithful and die. You see people who are proud and then in the end take their own lives because of their pride. But you see people who murder other people and then have to pay a penalty for it. But you don't see, I can keep going. There's tons of different stories we see, but you don't see in the Old Testament anybody who did not tithe until they had to die. You won't see it. But we take what he says because we're a fan, right? You're a fan of his, and so whatever he says, you got to go with. Joel Osteen will say, anybody can get into the kingdom of heaven, right? Anybody. You don't have to be somebody who comes to church. I've met people who don't come to church, but they live great lives, and they live better than some of these Christians do, right? Which Cristianos, of course, they probably do. However, what does that have to do with the kingdom of heaven? There's one way into the kingdom of heaven, and you're held accountable for what you know. Now, if you don't know who Christ is, or if you're not intimate with this process that gets you into the kingdom, then there's only Yahweh or only God is the judge, so He'll handle that. But however, we know what the Bible says, right? He got in trouble. Joel Osteen got in trouble a while ago. Pronouns. Joel Osteen got in trouble a little while ago because he had, and when I say a little while, this might even be like a decade ago now, but he got in trouble with doing an interview. I don't know if it was with Oprah or Larry King or both of them, where he wouldn't say, well, the Bible doesn't believe that we don't believe that homosexuality is the way. He was trying to skirt around the issue. The reality is, yeah, we don't believe homosexuality is the way. You don't have to say somebody's going to hell. You just got to say, this, as far as the Bible says, the Bible listed as an abomination. If the Bible listed as an abomination, then we believe it to be an abomination. However, we still believe that you can change and be transformed, right? But we're fans of his, so people would stand up for him no matter what. It's the same thing in politics. You'll see like a Donald Trump. Donald Trump is sitting there and he's saying things, he's saying we got to be careful with these people, all these people who are taking advantage of stuff, these or they can't say with their wives, they're out here just having sex and babies. Donald Trump is out here having sex and babies, and he's sitting there talking nasty about his own daughter. I don't even know what his daughter's name is. I was about to say Melania, but Melania I think is the wife. So whatever his daughter's name, he talking about, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd have sex with her. Like he said stuff like that before. I think she's hot, she's amazing, and it's nasty, it's cringeworthy. But we don't care. We don't care that he said grab him by the pussy, right? Because you're a fanatic. You'll support him no matter what. So you can't follow him, because to be a good follower, you also have to be somebody who asks questions, right? You should be inquisitive. And you have to be somebody who is willing to test what the person says. So if you won't test anything that somebody says, then you're not a good follower. You're a fanatic. And this is what happens. You have a lot of people who are following leadership. You have sons and daughters. I was raised this way, and I'm raising my children this way, where you shouldn't be a fanatic. Like if I've done wrong, you're going to learn about the wrong. And you're not only going to hear about mom and dad were always fine or this or that. You're not going to hear that dad never said a curse word. Even though my children have rarely, if ever, heard me say a curse word. A couple of them have, but I'm a lot better than most with that, to where it's very rare you're going to hear anything like that. And even if you do, a lot of times it'll be because I'm quoting something. But even still, it's very rare that they're going to be in the vicinity of me doing or saying something along those lines. However, getting back to what I'm saying, I want them to know, that I'm a man. Right? I'm not God. I used to worship my mother as God. I thought my mom was everything, and then she passed away, and I lost my mind. Really didn't know Yahweh for myself. I didn't even know of a God for myself, right? I wasn't even really a Christian when she died. And, now I've gravitated from Christian to kingdom citizen to messianic, which is the same thing as kingdom citizen. Just knowing who I'm following, the Mashiach, Yeshua Mashiach versus Jesus the Christ. But, I didn't know any of that. So she passes away, and that's who I worshiped. So I worshipped her. She passed away. I ended up meeting somebody. I married them, and I tried to worship them, but they weren't on the same level of the God that I had before. I'm depressed in the middle of it. A lot of stuff is happening because I had made her someone who could not sin. I had made her someone I was a fanatic of. And here's the problem with fanaticism more than anything else. Fanaticism will always lead to you killing your leader. I won't say always, but many a time, like a heavy percentage. Because there's some people who will be faithful to something no matter what, till death do them part, just because they're a loyal person. And so if you tell them the wrong thing, even if they know it's the wrong thing, they'll die for it. They'll kill for it. See the example of Malcolm X versus Elijah Muhammad, where a lot of people killed Malcolm X. Got together to kill Malcolm X, and many of the people who killed him are some of the same people who have came out now and said, yeah, we shouldn't have done it. I thought wrong, I thought different, but in reality is they were a fan of Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, they had made a man into a prophet, from a prophet to a God, right? That became their God. They can say Allah is first, right? But they'll kill somebody faster for speaking against Elijah Muhammad than they would about Allah, right? So, it's the same. It's kind of the same thing, the same rationale. See that example where people will kill people, and that's really what I'm getting to at the end. Is it's really one of the things that's really difficult to deal with, is that some people will get to the point to where they'll kill the person they're a fan of because you were a fan. You thought, watch this, the person didn't even necessarily do anything wrong, although we will make mistakes as leaders, but the person can literally just not even make a mistake. The person might just simply live their life, and you were a fan of something, thinking this person had to be what you wanted them to be. You became a fan, dedicated yourself, all these things, and then you end up killing them because you're like, why didn't you do what I wanted you to do? Why didn't you say what I wanted you to say? Why didn't you sing how I wanted you to sing? I actually had somebody in my life like this, to where I just had to leave them alone because everything about them is, I need your attention. They're blowing up my phone constantly and consistently, where I can't even use it at times. I've known this person over 10 years. I've stopped even dealing with this person for years, and this person is still doing everything in their power to call, right? Like it's a stalker situation. It's very scary. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people are like that. Like when you get into leadership, you'll have a lot of people who are going to start to kill you. Even if they don't physically kill you, they'll kill your reputation. Because how dare you do something different than what I thought you were supposed to do? You know, I have a lot of people, you're a pastor. How dare you say this or that or whatever? Right? Because a lot of people love you when you're talking good about them, and but I didn't even change, but I see him doing wrong, and the same word I used to praise him, it's the same word I used to say, hey, maybe you don't want to do that. That's going the wrong way, and because somebody heard me say it, or because they feel it was too public, or because they feel like, how dare you say anything about me? Nobody's allowed to say anything about me. Now all of a sudden, I thought you were a pastor. Well, yeah, I still am. A pastor's supposed to tell you right and wrong. I don't want to hear the wrong. So now your reputation's killed, or now people trying to follow you. An example of that is actually two of the Beatles died because of fans getting at him. I think both were stabbed. I think George Harrison stabbed on his own property. Somebody got on his own property and killed him, and John Lennon maybe as well, or somebody stabbed him in the back or something like that. But yeah, you have many different people who follow people, and I don't remember if it was Steffi Graf or someone else, but someone got stabbed in a tennis match in the '90s. I want to say it was with Monica Seles. I can't remember. I'm not good with women's tennis in the '90s. I watched a lot of it, but I'm not good keep holding my memory. But yeah, you have a lot of people who have been killed by their own fans, right? Because somebody was a fan of theirs, and then they shift, and then all of a sudden they saw this person didn't amount to what they thought this person would be. They held them to a standard that the person, since they're a human being, couldn't hold themselves because they're not a god. And so this person couldn't hold the standard. They fell a little bit. Somebody didn't like the fact that they fell. They killed them off. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes on like that, and a lot of things that happen, and you've got to be careful. Don't be a fan, be a follower. To be a disciple is a follower. Even the Bible tells us, I think this is 1 John chapter 4, I don't know if it's verse 1 or 2, but it even tells us to try every spirit by the Spirit. Some versions say test every spirit by the Spirit. In other words, put it on trial. God says, try me at my word and see if I'm a liar. Right? You, as a follower, you should be somebody who's willing to be inquisitive. David says in Psalm 142, I think it's verse 2 or maybe verse 3, I shall bring my complaint before the Lord. These are things that we should be trying to do. Don't be a follower. Don't be a fan. Don't be a fanatic to where you've turned this person into your sports team. Right? The Bayhive is dangerous. Beyonce's followers are dangerous. You have people who literally have had services, had a church service, at least one that I know of for sure, had a church service, a worship service, in which they believed that Beyonce was the God that they should follow, and they used her words as their Bible, and they sung her songs as worship. Right? Which means that you are saying that in your eyes, she can do no wrong. So even if Jay-Z was wrong for cheating. However, if she's doing things that are wrong, you're not going to say anything. If her sister is beating him up, and you're not going to say anything. If she's cursing in front of little girls who are watching her special on HBO, you're not going to say anything. I watched a piece of the special because I was with somebody at the time, and I saw all these children, and there were all these ladies with the children, and nobody said anything because they were all captivated. At the end of it, they said, man, she cursed a lot more than I thought she was going to curse. But nobody said it was wrong. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's sitting there saying, hey, why is she making a video and her husband are sitting in front of this painting, and there's all these people who are basically like doing this worship thing towards them, and the whole video is, we have more money than you, we came up. You see, like, nobody wants to point this stuff out. So I'm just saying, if you become a fanatic of somebody you're incapable of following. If you're incapable of following, what's really going to happen is you're just going to like somebody a lot, but you're not going to grow. You're not going to reach your potential. And that's really the end game. At the end of the day, we're trying to grow and reach our potential. And all that being said, that's all I have time for this morning. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living in that kingdom or queendom yet, I appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. I did say that I was going to talk about the book. So we have two books, 10 Days of Motivation, which has been out since last year. And of course, we have the new book coming out October 13th, which is Does It Really Matter If Jesus Was Black? All right. That's coming out October 13th. If you would like either one, or right, if you'd like to get a copy of one that we have, or if you'd like to reserve the one coming up for yourself, and October 13th, just put hashtag I want one in the comment section below for the first one, which is 10 Days Motivation. So just put hashtag I want one in the comment section beneath. If you want to reserve a copy of Does It Really Matter If Jesus Was Black, you can put in the comment section hashtag I want two. All right. So if you put hashtag I want one, we'll make sure that we get you a copy of 10 Days of Motivation. If you want Does It Really Matter If Jesus Was Black, just put hashtag I want two, and we'll make sure that we get it to you ASAP. But thank you guys so much once again. And if nobody's told you this yet, you're loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you will be the reason why this world changes for the better. This is Pastor Devin Stephenson, Pastor of Servants of Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you come back and meet with us again tomorrow. And until we meet again, I wish you shalom, which means peace.